Hello, my name is Stephen Mathis, and welcome to my SSE 370 Screencast. Unfortunately, my original plan went awry because the Google version of the Screencast does not allow you to leave this tab. So if I went up to the top of the screen and tried to click on another tab, it wouldn't. The visuals wouldn't follow. So my original plan was to use this in my unit plan, but now I'm kind of backtracking and trying to figure out a different way because I don't have access to anything other than a Chromebook that can download any other screencasting type of applications that would be able to do what I want. What I originally wanted to do was the first day of my lesson plan would have been on a Friday, and I would have talked about the causes of the War of 1812, and I would have had students fill out a sheet, a Twitter template. After they went around stations and learned about the different causes, they would take a Twitter template and they would hashtag it 1812 probs, and they would fill out all the causes of the War of 1812 and hashtag it 1812 probs. Just a fun little activity to assess their knowledge from the learning stations. And then for homework, I would give them this PowerPoint, the screencast to watch with this PowerPoint in it. They would be given a flowchart worksheet as well as a guided note sheet, and they would be instructed to also have their Twitter template out with them. Now, I would talk to them about, I would just kind of review for a quick moment the causes of the War of 1812. I would tell them to have their template out and to copy the causes over to the causes on the flowchart. Once I completed that, I would, sort of segue into my PowerPoint and read my PowerPoint along. I'm going to go through my PowerPoint here slide by slide, and they would fill out the guided note sheet, and then we were done. We would finish the flowchart with the effects. And when I came across the answers, I would go over to the guided notes. I would flip over the tabs to the guided notes, and I would work through it with them. I would type it down so they could see it, and it would be a whole nice thing. But unfortunately, I cannot do that. Here's my review slide, hashtag 1812 probs, where I would have reviewed that template. Then I would talk about society leading up to the War of 1812, the divided nation, sort of the North and the South, the two different types of economies, the election of 1812, Madison against DeWitt Clinton, sorry, I just froze on that name real quick. And then finally I would talk about the opposition to what they called Mr. Madison's War. There was the Federalists who were against it, obviously because Madison was a Republican. The old Republicans because they didn't feel like he was strictly following the constitutional guidelines of a small central government. And the New England merchants who were enjoying their trade with Europe even despite the barricades. I would segue from this. I would show a quick video. It's about 2 minutes long. It describes the actual events of the War of 1812, and there's some nice little cartoon characters that depict it. Unfortunately, I cannot show this video again, like as I said, because I can't leave this tab. I can't full screen this PowerPoint. Now, the reason I'm doing this and not spending more time on the war is, it seems to me at least, that the war isn't, I don't want to say it's not important because it was a war, but it seems like the causes and the effects, the aftermath, the change after time was more important, especially to the New York State curriculum. And in the time crunch, I think just giving kids a small concept of what the war actually was, explaining Andrew Jackson, maybe if I was an actual teacher playing on an actual unit and I knew I had some time, I would do some local connections, old Fort Niagara stuff. But for the case of this, I would just show this quick 2-minute video, explains the war, sums it up real nicely, and then I would go straight into, actually I would take it back, I would backtrack a little bit to the Hartford Convention. I would discuss how the New England states came close to succeeding. The delegates rejected the radical calls for secession. They did propose a 2/3 vote to declare war. I think that was key because that foreshadows to later when I would explain how the Federalist Party kind of came to an end after the War of 1812. Then I would jump forward to the Treaty of Ghent. I would explain it a little bit with words, and then the big important things here are terms. So the terms is written so they can visually see it and record it into their notes. The terms were a halt to the fighting, the return of all conquered territory, and the recognition of pre-war boundary between Canada and the United States. So essentially nothing changed. That's the big thing I want the students to take out of it. War was essentially a draw. Nothing changed. But even though, despite the fact that nothing changed, there was a lot of effects. There was a change over time from 1812 to the time the war ended. A lot of things changed in America, and that's the big thing we took out of this war. So I would segue that into the next slide, which I would start talking about the effects. I have just quickly bullet pointed. Having survived 2 wars with Britain, a great power of the United States gained the respect of other nations. Sort of as just a silly little gimmick, I would have played the first 20 seconds of Aretha Franklin singing R-E-S-P-E-C-T, maybe crack a joke about how old I am, because the students probably wouldn't understand the joke, but I think it's part of being a teacher, is the kids can laugh at you every once in a while. More effects as the U.S. came to accept Canada as a neighbor and a part of the British Empire. I got a picture of Buffalo Sabres national anthem singer. I am blanking on his name. I believe it's Doug Allen. And I would talk about how before every Sabres game, he would sing the United States and the Canadian national anthem. It kind of shows the respect between the two countries. A lot of kids maybe have been to Sabres games. If I'm teaching locally, they would have experienced that and understood. Sort of put it into context. The next effect would have been after the Hartford Convention, so drawing back on previous stuff here. The Federalist Party came to an end as a national force, even in New England, and I have the picture of Andrew Hamilton losing in a duel here. Andrew Hamilton signed to the face of the Federalist Party. Maybe crack a joke that the Federalist Party was as dead as Alexander Hamilton after a duel with Aaron Burr. Then the next slide, we talk about the nullification and secession in New England. The talk of nullification and secession in New England set a precedent that would later be used by the South. I got a funny little meme up here with the Willy Wonka guy saying, "You want your state to secede from the Union? Please tell me more about how much of a patriot you are," and kind of maybe sit down and maybe have the kids think critically about this picture. Maybe, please tell me about how much of a patriot you are. There's this new sense of nationalism in this country. So that's how the Federalists came to an end, because you want to secede, you're not patriotic, you're not nationalistic. Maybe spend some time dissecting that photo a little bit. On to the next one, as I believe Jay-Z would say. Effects, you would be another effect would be abandoned by their British allies. Native Americans in the West were forced to surrender large areas of land to white settlement. That would be key. One of the causes of the War of 1812 was Southern farmers. Their soil was starting to erode from years and years of farming, and they wanted to move west, but the Indians held the territory, and the Indians were backed by British allies. So it's sort of tying in the cause and effect, the change over time. You're seeing what happened because of what Americans wanted and why they went to war. Another effect, more factories were built in the U.S., and America took a big step towards self-sufficiency. Then I had a nice little History Channel video, and I would preface this by saying it's a little bit of a jump forward. It's about the Lowell factory girls and stuff, but they get to see the inside of a factory. They get to see, there's some nice visuals, and it puts it in a nice context to visually see it. So that's part of Gardner's theory, is being able to see things, put things in context. So I thought that was important, and even though it jumps ahead a little bit, I thought that was a nice video to tie in there. These are all short videos, by the way. None of them are longer than 3 minutes. So the effects, war heroes such as Andrew Jackson and William Henry Harrison would soon be in the of a new generation of political. I'm pretty sure I misspelled that, or I miswrote this, but war heroes such as Andrew Jackson and William Henry Harrison would soon be in the new generation of political leaders. Yeah, there's definitely some typos there. I will fix that. But you got the picture of Andrew Jackson here, sort of just maybe talk for a minute how Andrew Jackson became president and how the next, in this unit, Jacksonian democracy comes after industry and growth. So we jump from the War of 1812 to industry and growth, transportation networks, and then from there we jump into Jacksonian democracy, and we talk about the political changes from Jefferson to Jackson. We could kind of, my assessment at the end of this unit is comparing those two men and those two men's ideals. And transportation is in the middle, because I feel like that had a lot to do with the change over the time. But obviously introduce the concept of Andrew Jackson, the Battle of New Orleans, just give them a quick little rundown of that, and then move on to the next effect, which is probably the most important effect, and note to them that that's the most important effect, and it's that growing sense of nationalism. Show Uncle Sam there, I got this funny little 30-second video of a man with an American bandana and his jean jacket singing a song where the chorus is "Rock, Flag, and Eagle." It's a very it kind of mocks essential patriotism and nationalism, but I think it's a goofy little video that the students will enjoy, and hopefully they can take that video and then ingrain it in their mind when they think of nationalism. Just something a little goofy. I'm hesitant to explain down here how Daniel Webster in his dictionary changed the wording of center and centra, from centra to center, from theatre to theater, kind of how we turned Old English into American English. I'm hesitant to talk about that just because I kind of want to use that as an anticipatory set for a class ahead further in the unit, but I could throw that in there as well, just as a fun little tidbit to draw the kids in and interest them. And then finally, the last effect would be the growing belief that the future of the United States lay in the West and away from Europe. So, show them this map, show them how we're pushing west, things of that nature. And then lastly, just sum up the most important effects of the war just in shorter words, kind of modeling for them how to not dumb things down, paraphrase, that's the word I'm looking for. So you're modeling for them the paraphrasing. What's the most important things? I'm modeling here how to sum things up for them. So in the future, I'll ask them to do this myself. I will give them bigger pieces of literature to do, and it'll be their job and they're responsible to pick out the most important parts and to kind of sort of paraphrase that. And that's in the Common Core. Those are some of the Common Core reading standards involved doing things like this. So I think it would be nice to model that right here. And once they're complete with this, I would pull up that flowchart again. I would explain to them that they need to finish that flowchart for homework. That would be my assessment, would be that cause and effect flowchart. It would go in their binder. It would be a great tool for them to use to study for the test at the end of the unit. The Louisiana Purchase and the War of 1812, it's all about cause and effect. It's all about the change over time. I think those are very important aspects, obviously in history, for students to understand, that they need to understand that things change over time. History doesn't repeat itself, as one of my professors would tell me. It's change over time, cause and effect. So I have flowcharts. I have graphic organizers. I have a graphic organizer for Federalist Republicans. I have my cause and effect flowcharts, change over time, for the Louisiana Purchase and for the War of 1812. These are great study tools for the students to look at. I'll have them wrap that up. All three of those things will be in their binder when test time comes. I'll have them pull it out for our review session. So that is my screencast. I keep wanting to say podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. I apologize for the technical glitches that did not allow me to give you guys the full show. But hopefully, if I was an actual teacher, I would get my hands on a window and I would definitely get this done the right way. But I do apologize, and thank you for your time. Have a good day.